What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show, the Dynasty Show, Sunday night. Hammer, a little late in the building, having some computer trouble here. He says he should be on in a few minutes here. But yeah, we got some recent news that came out. We've got a few things of recent news that came out. We've got a roster review to go over. We'll look into Warp. What is Warp? How can that help us? So we got a couple things that couple things we'll be going over. We'll be going over tonight. See if I can get Hammer on here quick before we start talking about some of the recent news. Obviously, that came out. We've got the DeAndre Hopkins news. So, what does that do for DeAndre Hopkins? What does that do for Tannenhill? What does that do for Burks? Does that do anything for Henry? Joe Mixon restructured his contract. Looks like he's going to be a-okay. He's going to stay as a Bengal, obviously taking less money now. And then you've got the Evan Engram extension. He gets a 3-year extension on a good kind of upcoming squad. So a lot to go over and kind of digest. I mean, Mixon has been falling in drafts. I mean, so bad lately, just really falling. And the reason for it is, I mean, they could have possibly have cut him if he didn't take the pay cut. Had some legal issues, of course. We didn't know kind of what's going on with that, but they wound up, they wound up not, getting anybody in the draft, at least high. They didn't wind up signing anybody. Hammer, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know why my camera hasn't turned on. Give me a second.
Yeah, I can't see you, but
Been enabled. Bro, I told you my computer's been acting up for whatever reason. This
yeah,
is
I don't know.
crazy.
I don't know what you got going on, Hammer, but
Yeah, neither do I. I'm like the masked Avenger. What the fuck is going on here? Yeah, this is ridiculous. The camera just doesn't not activating for whatever reason.
is your camera not working? Well, what is it, your laptop?
Yeah, it's the same laptop I've been using. It's fine. Shouldn't be an issue. I don't know what's going
Go
on here.
into
I'm in the video settings. Looks
click
like the
like on the
camera.
bottom where it says like stop video. There's a little arrow, and you should
Yeah,
be able to
it said.
change it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Just hold on. It says this camera is being locked by another application.
Oh, you might be on. You might have something open on another.
I don't. I just reset it.
All
Give me a
control, all
second.
delete your shit, and
This shit.
look. I changed the background too.
I saw it. I saw it. That was dope.
Got a little Vikings and Packers in the background there. But I mean, I guess until you can figure out your shit that you got going on here. Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of going over the kind of quick things that we were gonna talk about with Hopkins, Mixon, Ingram, all getting deals now.
Yeah, the Hopkins thing is super interesting. I don't. I Tennessee seemed like the worst possible place for him to go, in my estimation. Oh, there we go. Your video has been enabled. Hold on.
No, now it's off. Now it's on, but it's still black.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it says it like you've got it off right now, and
Yeah,
then
well,
I click it and turn it back on.
I am. I'm going into the little task manager thing. Just bear with me here, but I could still hear you.
All right, so what the hell?
Tennessee is the worst place for. I saw this meme on Instagram that said Tennessee, where star wide receivers' careers go to die, and it had a picture of like Randy Moss, Andre Johnson, Julio Jones. I mean, to be fair, those guys weren't exactly in their prime when they joined.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about because a lot of people are kind of bringing that up, like, oh, that's where they go to die. And I mean, to be fair, Julio fell off the year before, like that's when it started when he was still in Atlanta. He only played, I think, 10 games or 9 games
Hmm
than before. Um,
You kind of saw the end coming.
with
Randy
that
Moss
decline.
obviously was way at the end.
Yeah, all that was way at the end. So, I would say to, point more towards the right. AJ Brown was still able to finish a wide receiver one, even with, missing some games. He was always nicked up, to be fair. So it wasn't,
But he was in his prime. These guys are, I wouldn't call DeAndre Hopkins in his prime, you know?
no, 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 no. He's not. He's obviously not in his prime. But we were saying kind of, best case scenario. Yes, it's possible he can finish as a wide receiver one, right? Well, obviously, we saw, AJ Brown finish as a wide receiver one. The main thing, can he finish, all of the games? Can he play all of the games to actually, have a chance to finish as a wide receiver one? I think those chances are limited, but
I agree.
is he just kind of a wide receiver two, wide receiver three? That's how I think we gotta look at him. I'll take him as my wide receiver three on my team. So
Yeah, I don't love it, but I don't love it in a low
no,
pass offense to begin with.
yeah, even with the low pass offense, obviously he's got a chance to, to do some work. I think, he'll take, all of the kind of real routes, and Burks will kind of still be that deep ball guy. Jamie, what up? I think Burks stays kind of, that deep ball big play guy. So, it hurts Burks for sure. It hurts Burks for sure. At least in the short term. Long term, you can still like him. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with Hammer over here. We're trying to
Yeah, I don't
fix
know. We got
his,
some technical difficulties. I'm trying. Let me
situation. Yeah, then he just exited out. But yeah, obviously this does hurt Burks a little bit, and I wasn't on Burks like kind of everyone else was. I thought he was definitely a good value, but the rumors were always looming about DeAndre Hopkins possibly going there, so I kind of just stayed away because this is obviously going to hurt his value. For right now, can he still produce? Can he still produce? There he is. Can he still produce? Yes, he can still produce, but it's going to be harder, obviously, with DeAndre Hopkins, who is a kind of, a target hog. You still got Chig over there, who, was commanding some targets as well. So for Burks, it's not looking as good. D Hop, yeah, it's not the ideal situation, but
no, not by a long shot.
It
But
is
what
what
do
it
you
is.
do you think he would have why do you think he went there to be he could have went to
I think
Buffalo. He could have went. Did you see the contract? It was like 2 years up to like I forgot. I'll bring up the deal. I think it was like 30 mil or something like that.
it's a 2-year deal. I don't know exactly what it was, but
I'm gonna look it up right
I
now.
think that when you look at Tennessee, like yes, they're not a great team, but they never really were a great team, and they were still finishing, first place and getting, deep into the playoffs. So I think that, maybe D Hop looked at, Derrick Henry and said, all right, we're riding Henry, we just kind of need some, a little bit better offense because we're always kind of in the hunt anyway. Um, you know, and I guess that's why he decided there. He could have chose the Patriots. He didn't want to go to the Patriots, so I guess he has more, I don't know, trust in the Titans or at least Tannenhill.
So really quick, it's a 2-year deal, 26 mil, up to 32 with incentives. So
Artie, what up?
13 mil a year, probably could be up to 16 mil a year. But yeah, it just feels wrong, right? It feels like he could have done so much better. It feels like he could have
There he
at
goes.
least if it, yeah, it's I don't like it by any stretch. I don't like it for real NFL. I don't like it for fantasy. It just doesn't make sense at all. If he would have went to, I felt like Buffalo, right? Buffalo felt kind of like the right place for him to go because we talked about Gabe Davis last week or on the previous show on Thursday, and we just pretty much shredded Gabe Davis down to a nub. So for DeAndre Hopkins to go there would have seemed like the perfect fit as the complement to Stephon Diggs. And DeAndre Hopkins' game is not predicated on speed and, burning people down the field. He's a good possession receiver at this point. He has probably some of the best hands we've ever seen in the NFL. So it's, I don't know, it's very surprising. I thought there could have been some better options out there. Buffalo is probably the top option. I don't know if Buffalo had interest, but that seemed like the best kind of combination of fit and need for the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not on him. I wasn't on him, in the first place. Like, yes, he played great with, Colt McCoy last year, and he still commanded targets. But we really are getting to that age where it is hard to stay healthy, and that decline and that downgrade is going to come. At some point in time, we've got to stop looking at the name and what he's done in the past and say, like, this is going to stop at some point in time, and do I want to be the one that falls for it? Now in redraft, yes, I mean that's a gamble, I mean, that you can take, with the upside there. In Dynasty, even if I'm on a win now team, I mean, I don't know if I'm not going out to try and get D. I don't think, depending what you can get him for, but nobody's going to let him go for cheap is relatively the problem. Like, I don't know. I don't think I can pay a first for him. Like, I'd rather spend that elsewhere,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think there would have been more. He would have been worth more on a team like Buffalo. Not to necessarily say that people would have paid more, but he would have definitely been worth more. And especially, I think, down the stretch of the season, right, going into those fantasy playoff weeks 14, through 17, I think he would have been a lot more valuable going down the stretch for a lot of teams. So definitely risky, definitely gamble, but doesn't feel like D-Hop is going out with a bang.
No, and he's not a guy that you really want to get right now anyway. That's a guy, like, you want to make sure he can stay healthy. So that's a guy you've got to, buy in season, to kind of make sure. I'm not trying to buy him right now. So yeah, Buffalo would have been crazy. Been the smartest kind of place. On a ring chase, he could have came to the Vikings. Yeah.
When have the Vikings ever been a ring chasing team? Please explain that to me.
We're about to put up 40 a game this year.
Yeah, and lose in the first round of the playoffs potentially.
So yeah, that's the first bit. Obviously, we talked about Burks a little bit. That hurts Burks. I mean, ceiling is capped now. He can be, a wide receiver 4 now. I mean, 3 at best.
I don't necessarily look at it that way. If you're looking at it from, just on the surface, I would agree. But DeAndre Hopkins doesn't stay healthy. So if he plays, let's call it 12 games, right? 12 out of 17. I don't think that hurts Burks that much. Does it limit him to an extent? Yes, I would agree with that, but I don't see DeAndre Hopkins playing 16, 17 games.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, banking on Hopkins not playing all the games. So
right. So let's take a look. The last 2 seasons, right? So out of a possible 34, he's played 19. 6 of those were suspension, obviously. So that would give you, even still, if you add those 6 in, that's 25 out of a possible 34. So, he's had, and to bring up to pretty much finish up your point, like before that, he was playing 16, 15, 16, 15, 16. Like he was playing games. He was always playing. He was nicked up in some of those games, but he was able to play through it. And as you get into that age, 30, 31, for wide receivers, he can't play through that anymore. And I think we've started to see that the last couple of years, where he can't fight through those injuries like he used to, because obviously as you get older, your recovery takes longer and your body heals slower. And he's been a physical receiver for most of his career. So it's not like he's, Tyreek Hill out there. Tyreek Hill really doesn't take too many crazy hits, you know? So yeah, so he's been a physical receiver for most of his career, and I think that's starting to catch up with him.
Yeah, we're at that point where it's going to sooner or later. Tannenhill, does this raise Tannenhill a little bit now? I mean, we play in super flex leagues. The QB2 obviously, is important. This has got to give at least a little boost to Tannehill, right? He's got finally some capable pass catchers around him. As long as everybody's healthy, right?
Potentially, but not that much because Tannehill was never a sling it type of guy, right? And look at the coaching staff of Mike Vrabel. They're not exactly a throw it all over the lot kind of team anyway. They still got Derrick Henry. Let's not forget about that. So maybe the play action game is a little more effective than it's been the last couple of seasons. So we'll see. But I think just overall, him going there, it doesn't do anything for me. Like when I heard that, I was like, really, bro, really? But
well,
that was literally my first thought. Really, bro?
I think Marty's kind of on to it here, where it's like it doesn't hurt him, it doesn't bump him, but I like it for him, and I kind of feel that way too, where it kind of makes
situations.
It kind of makes you feel more comfortable that this team might not be in a position where they might have to sit Tannehill and play Levis. Like they should be in a possible
in that division
winning situation, especially in that division, competitive enough to possibly, to make the playoffs. So,
yeah,
I think, I think that's the main thing, with Tannehill is it kind of makes you feel more comfortable that, it's not going to really have, well, I don't want to say not going to have that short leash, but there's a better chance that they are winning games or at least competitive enough to, to contend a little bit. And we've seen them do it with nothing, right? I mean, how many times have we seen them do it with, just AJ Brown or, and he was hurt some games also. And they're still able to, get to the playoffs and get deep in the playoffs. So,
but let's also not forget Tannehill's not a spry chicken either. Like he's getting up there as well in age. So he was never known for his athleticism, but he did look like he kind of took a bit of a decline. Now, was that because of the skill position players last year or the year before, or whatever? But yeah, I don't. If Tannehill's your super flex quarterback, obviously you could do a lot better than that. But it might make you feel a little bit better from a production standpoint as well as a leash standpoint. So I guess if you want to, be optimistic about it, I guess, that's a way you can look at it.
Yeah. Moving on to Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon restructures. There were talks about possibly releasing him if he didn't restructure.
He had no leverage in that situation.
He had legal troubles as well, and you know what? The Bengals didn't have leverage either, really, to trade him because nobody really wants him, considering some of the things that has happened. Possible legal situations. So it would have been hard for them to even trade him. So. I guess it was kind of a win-win, and he hasn't been a
efficient.
I mean, he hasn't been an efficient guy. He's been extremely productive because he's getting the volume. So that's always
on a good offense. Yeah,
and he's on a good offense. So and a lot of people have been down on Mixon because we didn't know really the situation, what was going to happen. So now that this happens. Now everybody's on Joe Mixon again. What do you think about Mixon in this situation now?
I'm not going to say I've always liked Joe Mixon, but I've liked him as a player, especially in that offense, just from a volume standpoint alone. If you look at last season, obviously his carries were down, only 212 carries over 15 games, and the yards per carry not great, 3.9. His best season running the football was way back in 2018, where he averaged 4.9. Other than that, he's hovering around 3.9 to 4.0 in yards per carry. So not overly efficient, but he did have 60 receptions last year. And I think that kind of was surprising because he's never been really known as one of those receiving backs. So that's why he was able to finish top 10 in PPR. He finished at 10 in a half PPR league because of those 60 receptions. Also, 75 targets. Now, was that a product of Jamar Chase being out for a while? Was that a product of, the offensive line not being, kind of what it should have been, where things were breaking down? So he was just dumping the ball off in certain situations. So I think he'll make a fine. Even to be honest, if he's your RB1 going into the season, I wouldn't have a problem with that just because we know he's going to get the workload. And don't forget, Samaje Perine is out in Denver now. So so that's also another factor. So if Joe Mixon's your RB1, I have no problem with that. Now, it's going to be hard to move him. So, you're kind of going to have to, if he has a really hot month or really hot stretch of three or so games, you might want to be able to look to move him and get some value, because after this season, I don't think there's going to be a ton of value for Joe Mixon. With the uncertainty, we don't know where he's going to be. I doubt it will be on the Bengals. They may look into the draft for their next running back. But for this particular season, I think he could finish top 12 on volume alone in a great offense.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. He's got this year and he's got next year. So you can expect at least the next 2 years. Chase Brown, I think Chase Brown does get some work. How productive he's going to be, we'll see. I mean, we even saw last year, like, Perine was like more efficient than Mixon. I mean, Mixon had that one huge game, obviously, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, he took almost $4 million in change pay cut both this year and next year. He's actually not making. He's not making that much, to be fair. So
it's $8 million total on this contract now with the restructure. I think over the next 2 years, I believe that's what it said on
base
Sleeper.
salary is 5.51 mil. You can make an extra 2 mil in incentives. So
7.5 with incentives.
Yeah.
That's to be on a good team, a fantastic team, probably a top 3 AFC team, depending on how you feel about the other teams in the AFC, but he has a chance to win. He has a chance to be productive. So kind of made sense for both teams, really. And, he's been on that team for a while. So there is something to say about cohesion and, knowing where playing with that cast of characters for the last 3 or 4 years, with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Chase and the rest of those guys. So I think it's a win-win for both sides, to be honest with you.
We got an Instagram question here. Rank Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, and Jalen Waddle.
Waddle 1, Ridley 2, Amari Cooper 3.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And Waddle is way and above. He's like out of their stratosphere. And then I think Calvin Ridley does have a chance to have a really good season.
I think Kendre Miller will start anytime this year. That just depends if Kamara gets suspended or not. I mean,
and Kamara hasn't been. If you look over his last 2 seasons, his efficiency is way down. Now, does Derek Carr give that a bump? Excluding the, take the suspension out of it whenever he does play. Does Derek Carr kind of stabilize that offense as a whole? I don't know, but Kamara looks like he's, kind of losing a step in terms of efficiency. So, yeah, I think Kendre Miller is going to get some good run, and he seems to be one of the hotter handcuffs, especially out of the rookie class in this particular season coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's better than Jamal Williams, so it's just, about seeing it and having that happen, and he's got to have that opportunity, and that opportunity is going to be Alvin Kamara's suspension. However, however many games, that's going to be. Apparently now it's not a felony, and now it's a misdemeanor, but I mean, the NFL can still do whatever they want. So they're going to, investigate and do what they want to do. So I would expect at least a few games. Maybe it's not 6 now that it's not a felony, but could be 2. It could be 4. Who knows? It could be 6. Maybe they just want to lay down the hammer on somebody. Like this shit is not going to be acceptable. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, Derek.
I could see, I could
What's
see,
up?
I could see 4 games potentially getting reduced down to like 3 or 2, something like that, some middle ground. But yeah, I don't think that it going from a felony to a misdemeanor just kind of erases the whole thing. Like the NFL is a private industry; they're gonna do whatever they feel is best because he's acting like a knucklehead and
Hmm.
hurting the shield. So yeah, I think he definitely gets at least 2 games. If he got 4, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Shout out to Derek. Make sure smash that like, smash that subscribe if you're new.
Oh hell yeah!
But Jamie said thoughts on a trade he made today. He got JSN and a 2024 second, and he gave up Christian Kirk in a late 2024 first.
Oh yeah, is that 8 to 10? Is that
Yeah,
an
I'll
eight to
take.
ten candidate?
Yeah, I really like that because you're getting the mid second back. So I mean, you're just moving back, half a round maybe. I'm fine with that to move from Kirk to JSN. Absolutely, give me all that. I like that, Jamie. I made a trade as well. And Hammer, you tell me, I guess, what you think about it. I put a poll out, and everybody seemed to agree with the trade. But I traded Jerry Judy for Addison and a 2025 first. Obviously, we don't know where that first is going to be at that particular time. I mean, the guy's team is probably mid. I would say, I guess, right now.
He's a
And we'll
playoff team. I think that's a playoff team.
Yeah, yeah. For now, I mean, we'll see what happens in 2025 with
That's
what
true.
happens with situations and stuff. So that's
That's
why
true.
I liked it. But yeah, just kind of process. I just felt like Addison and Judy are kind of valued in the same range. And to me, it was kind of like same tier, maybe. Maybe Judy's a little bit higher, but I didn't feel like he makes a major difference from what Addison can possibly do. And I pick up the first, so I was just like, okay.
I I like it for you because you get the first and you get, obviously your guy. So that kind of works out for you. But from an overall standpoint, I think the production will be similar. I think it worries me what their quarterback situation in Minnesota is going to be coming up fairly soon. So that's going to be something interesting to monitor. But you got to imagine if they have JJ and they have Addison, they're going to make sure that they put a quarterback in there that's going to be able to get the ball to those guys. Now, Judy is really one of my big bounce back candidate kind of buy low type guys. So Judy, especially with the way he finished up last season, Judy and did he make your Supernova 12?
Yeah, yeah. He's on my Supernova 12. Listen, I like
So
Judy. I love Judy, but I'm gonna take the asset if it's there because the flexibility that I'll have or what that could possibly be or what I can use that for. I just
hmm
don't feel, especially in my rankings, like I don't have Judy and Addison separated by much. Like,
hmm
so I give me the first. I don't think that Judy is gonna make a big enough difference over Addison, I guess, over time, especially or even this year straight up. And like, you made a good point about, the QB situation, what's going to happen afterwards. And I don't know, but I don't have to keep Addison, but he is a pretty, hot guy on the
Valuable
market
piece. Yeah,
that
I would
people
agree.
like. So, and I do get the first. So I absolutely thought I loved it. And I sat here with Bogey the other night after the show, and I sent out about 15 to 20 trades throughout
You
kind of
sent me
all
you
of my
sent
leagues.
you sent me some trades as well, and then you took
Yeah.
one back. I saw you took one back though because I went to
Yeah, I
look
sent
at it.
you. Yeah, I don't remember what it was exactly.
Jacobs, you were trying to get Jacobs.
I was thinking about trying to get Jacobs possibly. I was like, let me see, what he thinks about this. Let me see what he feels about this.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, Marty said I robbed that guy. Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. There were some people on the Judy side, but it was about 80. Like I put a poll out, it was like 80% Addison in the first to like 20% Judy, and that was probably like 45, 50 people that have voted on it. So it was a good amount. It's a good amount. Nick, what up, Nick? What up, brother? Here we go. Trade away He's always trading this dude. Trade away Kyler and Najee for Bijan. would have Fields and Dak as my QBs Superflex Dynasty. So no third QB,
Yeah, I don't like
and
this.
you have.
I don't like
'Cause I
it.
feel like
I don't like it. Just because a couple of reasons. Obviously, number one, we're talking about Justin Fields, and we talked about him, at length as a running quarterback. And essentially, you have two running quarterbacks with Fields and Kyler. Kyler not exactly a running quarterback, but he gets out of the pocket and he makes plays with his legs. So I think the value of Kyler and Najee is not that old, right? I think he's going into what, his third season, I believe. So, I know Bijan is the hot rookie. He's probably going to be rookie of the
well,
year candidate.
yeah.
So I don't like it. I don't like it.
Hold on, no, let's plug it in the. Let's we're gonna dive a little deeper for you, Nick. What's your sleeper name? We're gonna use the warp. We're gonna use the warp tool, and we're gonna take a look at this league, and we're gonna look at it a little bit deeper because it could be worth it for Bijan depending on what he does. And I might have it, but I'm actually live on Instagram, Nick. So send me your sleeper name real quick and what is the league that you're in. We're gonna take a deeper kind of look because I was gonna bring out the warp tool later when we pulled out the dynasty roster that we're gonna be reviewing. But let's look a
Hmm.
little bit deeper into this for you, Nick. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think the running back gets like extra points per carry. So this could lead it in kind of a Bijan favor, but I know it's like one us we trust. Nick, let me know what's your sleeper name, bro.
I'm still not crazy about it, even if that is the case. Just because I think in a super flex league, Kyler's going to have fantastic value, especially when he comes back from injury. So I don't know, man. I just feel like that's a lot of value, especially in a super flex league. And Najee is not a throw in here. Like I have Najee on in our home league, and I think Najee is a real solid type of bounce back candidate. He was dealing with an injury last year and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So
All right, here
plug
we
it in.
go. And what is the league name? What is the league name? God damn it. One NUS we trust. We go. Username not found. Why is username not found? There's no other anything else in there, right? I can't pull it up. It's not reading it. One NUS we trust. God damn it. Oh, see, he spelled it wrong. Wait, did you just put the same thing?
In
Oh, is
us.
it in us we trust? Okay,
Oh,
hold on. Boom. All right. East Coast, West Coast is I'm guessing that's the league. That's the only one that's coming up here. Let's pull this up because let's just see what's going on here. Looks like Jamie said, "I'd like to trade you getting the first another piece." Yep, or another piece for this year. I can go out and maybe buy something that can take me over the top. I could buy some points from an older dude. Will gain some trade value the first week he's back. I'd at least hold out for that unless you get a great offer. That's a true story. If Dak is only starters, if you make that trade, pick up Cooper Rush. There goes Bogey. What up, Bogey?
it's
All right.
happening.
Let me see if I can make this bigger. All right, so this is the warp data for this particular league. You've got pretty much the top 4 QBs, and then then you have a drop off here. So let's take the tight ends out of here. Look at the running backs here. You've got Jacobs, Eckler, Saquon. You've got pretty much the top 6, top 5 running backs above 2, and then you've kind of got a big drop off after that. So to have a top 6 running back is pretty damn important, and it actually looks like it means more than having a top,
Wide receiver.
top 6 wide receiver, top 12 wide receiver. So this is very much more skewed, towards the running back position as far as, the difference that it can make you, on a per game basis. And what we're looking at here is warp data. And this tool is from southharmonff.com/warp. It is a paid tool. I think it's like 6 and change a month or something like that. And, you can use it and not use it afterwards once you kind of know or understand it. But it is something that I've started using a little more lately because it kind of gives you more an idea of more like of value and what's actually going to make a difference here. So if Kyler is a QB in that 6 to 12 range, like Bijan is going to be kind of a little more important than that. If you have Dak, he's still kind of in that range anyway, right?
But he's given up Kyler and
Yeah.
Najee.
Yeah, you're only like the big problem with that is you're losing, a QB. And that means that we're putting all our chips in the Fields basket.
Mm-hmm.
Does that feel safe to put all the chips in the Fields basket? It
To me,
feels
the answer to that directly is no.
So I know you've got like a shit ton of good wide receivers on that team, bro. Can we give up one of these wide receivers to try and get a top running back? You got Jacobs, Najee, Mixon. Yeah, so you've got a nice 3 guys already.
I mean, I think also too the Jacob situation has people a little bit worried because it looks like he's headed for a potential holdout. So I understand kind of the thinking there, but I don't know if I'm willing to cash that Kyler chip in and Najee on top of it. That's a steep price.
Definitely a steep price. That's kind of, it's kind of what Bijan yeah, Marty, I am saying to trade a wide receiver for a running back because according to this chart, you can see the running backs are kind of a little more valuable. They kind of give you, more than what the wide receivers are in this particular league. This is, specifically for this particular league and this format. So every league is, a little bit different as far as what you get. And it looks like here the running backs are rewarded more than
Significantly more, actually.
the wide receivers. So,
Like it's significant.
that's big. The warp doesn't go under 1 for the running back until you hit like, RB 15 over here, And when you're looking at the wide receivers, you get under 1 at like, wide receiver 7, 8. Like, so yeah, I am saying to move a wide receiver for a running back.
I think he brought up
But
his wide
QBs,
receivers there.
QBs are important too. So listen, I think you have enough running backs right now where you don't have to make this trade. But if you were to make this trade, I don't think it would be necessarily a bad trade. It's tough. I think it just matters how much you want.
So go to his
or do
go
you
to
want
his
the
wide
QB
receivers.
stability?
Go to his wide receivers. He brought it up, so it gives you a little more context.
He's got Amon-Ra, CD, T. Higgins, Ridley, Godwin, JSN.
I would see, honestly, Nick, I would try and as much as I hate to agree with the collection, and does it say what the start nine, start
I think
10?
it's a start 10. I've seen this team a bunch of times. I'm pretty sure it's start 10.
So listen, I wouldn't mind throwing Ridley in there, Ridley and Godwin at this point,
ADP has him as a captain.
and try and hold on to Kyler if you can.
Yeah. Plugged it into player profile. Should at least ask for a second back with Bijan. Yeah, I mean we're realizing it's I mean we understand obviously it's a lot. That's why I'm saying I don't know if necessarily I do this trade, especially like kind of with your situation with your running backs. Like you got Jacobs, you got Najee, you got Mixon. Like you've got three solid guys there.
And Samaji is a pretty damn good running back himself, who I think is going to get some good burn as well. So you really got four playable guys on a given week.
Yeah, I think that's a tough part. I don't think I want to. I'm not comfortable with just Fields and Dak. Like I like that you have Kyler. I think that gives you more of an advantage where you're always going to have a top 12 guy in here. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, I don't think I would do it. I don't think I would do it. Especially since like somebody said in here before, I don't know if it was Marty or somebody else, but Kyler's value is going to go up once he does come back.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens this year, and of course next year. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen then either. But if you have patience or you have patience enough, it might work out better. Bayou, what up? Yeah, I don't think we're doing it. Crispy, what up? Yeah, I don't think I'm doing it.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way just initially looking at it. But what's super interesting, and I know we were going to dive into this, but for your particular league, like this is a really good tool to use.
He's got Javante too. Shit. So yeah, I mean,
Not
as much as I
Habanero.
love
I was gonna say
Bijan, like
who's Habanero?
you have so much
Depth
running back power that
to give up that value of quarterback.
he's a quarterback. Yeah, I'd rather give up, maybe maybe two running backs, but not. I'm not.
Or even Calvin Ridley and Chris Godwin. I'd be comfortable with that. And even with Najee, I'd give up Najee, and then, like you said, ask for a second back, something like that. Get him to throw something back on top of that, because the wide receivers in this league aren't as valuable. Looking at this and just touching back on this particular tool, like in our league, right? In our home league, it's a little bit different, right? And obviously it's only a single quarterback, but this tool is really fantastic if you kind of want to get a leg up on your competition and what the particular value of that player is in that specific league. So that could be something that really does give you a leg up. I actually like looking at it from that perspective and what those league settings are.
Yeah, just pulling it up again real quick. Like if you look at, let's just look at wide receiver real quick. Let's just take that off. So after, wide receiver 6, there's a pretty, steady decline going right after that. So you can say pretty much wide receiver 12 to wide receiver 30, pretty much almost. They're kind of all the same. There's a little fluctuation, obviously. But that's kind of how you can take advantage where, you go after the running back position and then set yourself up with some solid guys in that wide receiver 12 to 30 range and, and you're rolling. So, it kind of goes to like the process trade kind of that I made with the, Addison and the Judy. Like, where do I think they're going to end up, eventually? And are they kind of going to be in that same area, yeah, whatever. Give me the first. I'll take the guy that I think is going to be relatively close or similar,
Mm-hmm.
in that kind of range. So yeah. Bogey said, we're gonna move Kyler Murray. I'm waiting until he's playing just so I can get max value. Yeah, I mean that's the thing about Dynasty is do you have patience enough to wait until that perfect time comes, right? I mean, we just did. I mean, I did a few startups this year, and a lot of people are trying to trade already, and it's just hard for me because a lot of the guys that I picked, like I need to wait for their value to go up. Like I need to take advantage of the value. So I'm not trying to trade them right now. I want to trade them at top dollar when they're worth more. So, yeah. What do you think of trading Gibbs and Sutton for Jonathan Taylor? No, I've got I've got Gibbs and Taylor kind of like back to back. Well, actually, I mean, no, because if you still get PPR, I mean, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm still not doing that.
I think I'm holding on to Gibbs too because you have the younger back with less miles on him, right? In a good offense. Now, Jonathan Taylor is obviously a difference maker, but I kind of like the Lions situation a little bit better. I know they have Monty there, but I don't know. I think I like Gibbs, especially over the long run. Now, if you're looking to go over the top this
Yeah,
season, that's a little different.
give me the package. I mean, Sutton ain't worth much, but just give it to me. Fuck it. No problem, Nick. Appreciate you hopping on, bro. PB Dubs, what up? Marty, what are you about to send? Don't send away Gibbs for Taylor. I don't do that. They're just the same thing. It's just the same thing. Unless you really don't like Gibbs or you don't have the faith in Gibbs and you feel a lot more comfortable with JT than, whatever. I just don't think that's it's just lateral.
Yeah. PB, what's happening, bro? Appreciate that shout out.
It's just lateral. Talked about oh yeah, next one was Evan Ingram, and then we'll get into the roster review. But Evan Ingram gets the 3-year deal now. They had him, I guess, on the franchise, and
Yep.
then they wound up drafting a
Yep.
tight end. So we were really kind of unsure of what was going to happen with Evan Ingram. Of course, they went out and got Calvin Ridley. So what do you think about Evan Ingram now? And now that he gets this deal, obviously he's got to move up dynasty rankings at least a little bit. But yeah, what do you think about Evan Ingram now and this new deal for him?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think it kind of just rounds out that entire skill position for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he was fantastic down the stretch last year. He finished as tight end 5, I believe. Yep. He finished as tight end 5 in a half PPR league. So he really kind of came out, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but he was kind of like an afterthought at that particular position. And then really after between weeks 13 and week 16, he was awesome, like really awesome. So, and he had a couple of top 5 tight end finishes down the stretch. So I really do like that. It seemed like as Trevor Lawrence was getting his mojo going, that he was the beneficiary of a lot of that. Now, does the addition of Calvin Ridley kind of cap his production? Sure, but at a shallow position, I still like him as a top 10 candidate to finish.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely finish top 10-ish. What is his ceiling? Was last year the ceiling, right? Obviously now we bring in Ridley. What did Ingram do last year? What's his full numbers?
So, final stat line on Evan Ingram last year: 73 receptions. That's fantastic. On 98 targets, 766 yards, 4 touchdowns, 10.5 a catch.
And he
That's
finished tight end 5. So what do we think about Ingram now
that.
going forward with obviously, a new weapon in Ridley and
I
Lawrence
think
possibly taking the next step?
Yeah, so you could kind of look at it both ways, right? Like Trevor Lawrence continuing his maturity, continuing his growth. You think Trevor Lawrence's numbers may, have a slight uptick. Um, and then you could look at it from the Calvin Ridley perspective, where Calvin Ridley's going to command a solid, healthy amount of targets. You got Christian Kirk over there as well. So, and don't forget about ETN, right? We didn't really see ETN get fully unlocked as a receiving option as well. So there's a plethora of options, and I just think that he fits into that perfectly. Stretch. So I still feel the same top 10 finish.
I guess 5 to 10, would that be the kind of spot there?
I would look a little bit on the lower end. I would probably go
Back end.
7 to 10, 8 to 10, somewhere. I would feel more
I
comfortable.
feel that.
I don't think he's going to be top. I don't think he's going to finish 5 again.
Mhm.
But I do think somewhere in that 7, 8, 9, 10 range is pretty sufficient, because they're going to be a pretty potent offense when you think about it. So I think there's be enough opportunities for him to make an impact. And he really did, like I said, down the stretch, he really developed a nice rapport with Trevor Lawrence. And even in that playoff game, let me see what he did in that playoff game. I think he was pretty good as well. So that bodes well for his stock going into next season. Yeah,
Yeah.
in that Charger game, he was really good. 7 grabs for 93 and a touchdown. And in the divisional against Kansas City, not great, but 5 grabs on 6 targets, only 31 yards, but he's still getting a healthy amount of targets, which I like.
I think I'm with you in that 7 to 10ish range. As far as Dynasty, I mean, shit.
I think he's somewhere in that 8,
He's got to
8-ish
be.
range,
He's got to be in the
8,
eight to
10.
12 range now. He's got to be. Do we have? Does this put him over Njoku? Does this put him over? Patty Fryermuth?
I don't think over Fryermuth, just because I think Fryermuth's still ascending. I think last year was kind of a ceiling for Engram. Um, the Njoku thing is interesting because Njoku gets banged up a lot. So I would consider Evan Engram over Njoku just based on being on the field. Evan Engram doesn't really miss games like that. He didn't miss. I don't think he missed any games last year. So I think Engram and Njoku is kind of a toss up. I think Njoku has a higher ceiling, but I think Engram is a safer play on a week to week basis.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he had 4 tutties last year. Like, does that go up, or does Ridley come into play more at the goal line area in the red zone? I mean, he's had 6 touchdowns once. He's never had more than that. PB Dub says Engram was nice in 2023. I see his TD's dipping a bit. Contract makes me like him more in Dynasty. Yep, absolutely. He's attached to a good QB. Yeah, absolutely. Which definitely for me kind of vaults him into kind of the top 10ish. I would say 8 to 12. I have to really look at it and see where I want to put him now. But he's definitely going to move up for me.
But I
So I
think you
like.
could look at it. I think you could look at it from multiple angles, right? Because you
Mhm.
could say, hey, Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk are going to open things up for Engram now. Or you could say Ingram's going to get more targets. Or you could say Trevor Lawrence is going to ascend and, whatever. So I kind of think if you got, say, I think he had, what did I say, 70 something receptions. If he gives you 60 receptions, 65 receptions for 650 yards and another 4 or 5 touchdowns, perfect. Like that feels like steady production. And I think the Jaguars are going to be a really good offense, as PB said, with the rising quarterback long term now. The arrow's kind of pointing up.
Yeah, I think kind of like you're saying. I don't know. Like that's why I think like last year was possibly like a ceiling. Like I think he could be in possibly the same range.
Yeah,
I don't know if he can get any higher than 73 for almost 800. That I don't
yeah,
know if
that'll be
that's
tough.
gonna
That'll be
be.
tough.
They are going to throw the ball more, so I mean that's good, but we'll see. We'll see. Emil said you taking Mixon over Najee in Dynasty.
No, I'm taking Najee.
Yeah, I'm taking Najee too in Dynasty. I mean, I think the writing is pretty much on the wall that Mixon will be at least gone after next year, right? When that contract is up. If they don't wind up releasing him after this year, depending on what happens. I mean, they took a pay cut, so I don't know exactly how much the hit is if they wound up releasing him next year, but I think that could be in the cards. But yeah, I mean, give me Najee. He's a workhorse as well. So yeah, I feel safer with Najee too, especially in Dynasty. But all right, so that's all the news that pretty much went on. Let's look at this Dynasty roster, and
Do
then
it.
we'll pull up everything. Let's do this. Let's do this. So this is a 12-team Superflex start 10, an extra 0.25 per rush. Your typical kind of, QB Superflex, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 2 flexes, and the tight end there. He's got 2024 picks, a first, a second, and a fourth that are not his. He's got a 2025 fifth, no other picks, and he's got a 2026, all of his picks there. Hurts, Prescott, and Purdy at QB. ETN, Javante, Monty, Connor, Singletary, Hubbard, Chandler at running back, wide receiver, the Sun God, Cheetah, Hollywood, D-Hop, Wandell Robinson, Gallup, Michael Thomas, KJ Osborne. At tight end, you got Kelsey, Schultz, and Irv Smith. And this is for Matt. But yeah, what do you think about this team? Kind of just looking at it initially.
This team should be a contender. That's kind of initially looking at all the parts. He's got pretty much a top option at each position, which is awesome. Your super flex quarterback is Dak Prescott, so you're in good shape there. Your third quarterback is a little questionable, but I think you're still okay. ETN is nice. Javante, some question marks. I think Monty, Connor, and Singletary could be solid RB2s that you could kind of find the right matchups for. And then you've got 2 of the top 5 wide receivers, in my estimation, or 2 of the top 8 at least, going into the season in Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tyreek Hill.
Just say it, the Sun God.
Not coming off that. And I like Hollywood. The Hopkins thing is interesting. Obviously, we just found out where he's going. And then, Jesus, if you got Travis Kelce on your team, you don't even got to look twice at that tight end position for the whole season, except for the bye week. So, yeah, it's a hell of a team, honestly. In a 12 team, this should be a top 3 team, if everything, barring a major injury, I would say. His depth at wide receiver is a little bit questionable. Pretty much after Cheetah, there's some question marks there, but I still like Hollywood as your wide receiver 3. That's pretty solid. D-Hop as well, I think could be solid in spots. Wandell Robinson, potential breakout candidate with the New York Football Giants. Michael Gallup, I could take it or leave it. They got Brandon Cooks. But yeah, overall, really solid team.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think you're right about wide receivers, but in this particular format where you do get, the extra per rush, it would seem that the running backs might be more important, but this is why we use the tools that we use to try and, help us better kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Differentiate.
Your vocabulary is taking a hit. The brain cells are deteriorating as we speak.
And it kind of just helps us better in that instance. So we'll bring this up. Jamie said I like this team to compete a lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I like it too. So let's pull up. We'll pull it up on Keep Trade Cut first. Dynasty Daddy is another one that I've been looking at. That Jamie kind of threw out there for us, and I've got to look into that a little more to kind of understand. And I haven't really been on it except for that last stream where you told us about it. But let's take a look at this. I remember Hollywood was top wide receiver last year when Hopkins didn't play. He was wide receiber 6 at that time. Yes, he was.
I was with Kyler Murray.
With Kyler Murray when he was all alone.
And
so
no D-Hop. And no D-Hop.
And Wonder Bread is this team. And like we said, he's a contender. He's in the top 3, right? According to Keep Trade Cut. And you know, it also brings up his team here. So he's got his 2024 picks are from Holdstelbomer. And who is Holdstelbomer? Oh, look at that.
Last.
He's got the pick of the last place, or at least, you know, lowest ranked team.
That'll work.
So that's awesome, right? That works. You love that. You've got a very valuable, you know, first and second round pick there. That's good. Let's look at some of the other teams that are ahead of him: McCaffrey, Eckler, Jones, Kamara, Diggs, Quentin Johnson. So these guys' wide receivers aren't as strong, but he's very strong at running back. Good
Which
tight
in this
end.
league, like you said, could be more valuable.
Quarterbacks, Allen and Pickett. Okay. And then the top team has got Cousins and Carr, Pollard, Bigsby, Jamal Williams, Zach Evans, JJ, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Gabriel Davis. Okay. Kincaid, and it's got a shit ton of draft picks.
That seems to be where his most value is.
First,
Those top wide
fifth.
receivers.
Yeah, let's look
Mixed
at players only. Let's look at players only. Let's take away the picks. Wonder Bread first.
There you go.
Wonder Bread first. Starters first. So he's got some high valuable assets here. And let's pull up now the warp tool for this particular league. Make sure this is the right. I think I had it right, but we'll reset it here. And boom! Look at the running back in that tealish color. Look how important these running backs are. More than the damn quarterbacks in this league with this particular
all the way through, basically, and
all
even
the
more
way
so as you get as you drop off.
Yep. So who was his tight? All right, he had Kelsey. So we're good there. Kelsey almost gives you a fucking 2 warp. This
look at the drop off from Kelsey to the second tight end. That's wild.
Kelsey to Hawkinson is, you know, almost a full win, basically. A full win. Let's take away tight end just so we can kind of clean it up a little bit. And look at the receivers. I mean, he had Amon-Ra and he's got Cheetah. So he's got 2 of kind of the top 6 wide receivers. I mean, the running backs are more valuable. So I would say those 2 wide receivers you got to keep. Everyone else is kind of expendable almost there, because the rest you've got there from who else is? Let me go back to his team real quick.
I think he's got Hollywood, D-Hop. Wide receiver wise, he's got Hollywood, D-Hop.
Not bad.
Wandell.
Yeah, he's got Brown, Hopkins, Wandell. I mean, so those guys will fall into that, what, 18-ish to 24. This is all kind of even down here, right? So they're not meaning as much. Even the running backs mean more at this point. The top, you know, RB 18 to 24 is giving you more production. So, you know, I would say that third wide receiver slot, kind of just want to get anybody in like the 18 to 30 range. Hollywood kind of is perfect for there, and then stock up on the running backs. And seems like that's kind of what we have here. We have Etienne, Javonte, Montgomery, James Conner. So we've got, you know,
capable guys.
Yep. Got guys that have, you know, that are going to score some good points. So I would say you built the team the right way. I would say it looks like you're in good position. Like you said before, that third quarterback is a little bit risky with Purdy, because you do have Jalen Hurts, and if he winds up going down, I would say see if you can get Hurts' backup, which is Mariota, right?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad move to make.
Mariota, and maybe, you know, get Cooper Rush, get some back, you know, just get your backups.
Yeah, overall, this team is fantastic, and obviously, you went through 3 different kind of metrics, and it pretty much all said in that keep trade cut. Or is this keep trade cut here?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So removing the picks and just sticking to the players, he clearly has the top team. It doesn't even look particularly close.
You got Kelsey, you got Cheetah. I mean, you're definitely in win now. You're gonna ride these guys till they're dead, pretty much.
But I do like, in terms of, like you said, the way the team was built, because obviously Jalen Hurts and Dak are going to be around for a significant amount of time. ETN still fairly young. Javante still fairly young and holds value. His top, wide receiver, top two really, are still going to hold tremendous value over the next couple of seasons. And then Kelsey is just Kelsey. He's going to be on your team till the wheels fall off.
So
that first round pick shouldn't be understated as well. That, because it looks like it could be a top. Let's just call it a top 3, because crazy things happen in fantasy. So call it a top 3 pick next year. That's going to be extremely valuable as well.
Mm-hmm. And that can be, a QB. That can be Marvin Harrison. That can be Caleb Williams. Whoever. So that's a very valuable. It's a very, very valuable pick. So, I mean, what can we do? Are there any moves that we should make here, or that we could make to possibly try and get ourselves in a maybe even better position to win?
I think the only thing, and you brought up the only thing to do with this team, is to ensure that you have the backups to Jalen Hurts, number one. Go out there and get Mariota ASAP. That should be priority number one. Because if something should happen, Cooper Rush as well, if something should happen to one of your quarterbacks, you want to make sure that your team doesn't nosedive because you don't have those handcuffs for those guys. So that should be priority number one. And then priority number two, and it might be a little tough right now just because we don't know what's going on with the Brock Purdy situation. See if you can potentially get a third quarterback in there. I don't know what you would really move to get that, especially in a super flex, but that can be another avenue to go as well.
Jimmy G.
Yeah, Jimmy G's not a
have a third, just to have a third guy. I'm just looking at what some of these teams, some of these rosters on these other teams, and seeing who you can possibly get. I don't see
Sam Howell
Rush yet, so I don't want him. That's my third. Hold on. Cooper Rush, I guess, is on waivers because I don't see him on a team here. And then who else were we looking at? Mariota. I don't think I saw Mariota either. Are these guys you can just pick up? You could drop some of those wide receivers.
Yeah, like I would Michael Thomas. I'm kind of dropping Michael Thomas. I'm not.
No. I'm not going to drop him because he could give you some points. You never know. Or somebody you could trade him for something.
KJ Osborne, you would drop.
Yeah, it looks like you can get off of waivers the two backups to your quarterbacks. That would be, I guess, the start number one. You can drop Irv Smith. He does not matter. Dalton Schultz doesn't even really matter necessarily, but I'd keep him as my second, as my backup. That's fine. But if you need the roster space, get rid of Irv. Drop him. KJ Osborne, you can kind of drop him necessarily as well. I mean, or would you drop Gallup?
I dropped KJ Osborne before I dropped Gallup.
I dropped Ty Chandler actually before I drop either of those guys, and I know he might maybe not even, because actually Madison, it's only Madison and Chandler right now unless they bring someone else in.
Yeah, I dropped KJ Osborne. No, thank you.
He doesn't make a difference. He's not a difference maker in this particular.
Irv Smith, you said as well. If you got Schultz and Kelsey.
Or even Dalton Schultz, you could release him, and then when Kelsey's bye week comes up, you just pick somebody up. I'm sure there's tight ends out there. I mean, this is not tight end premium, but yeah, I would say that would be the first thing to do. Get those backup QBs so you have them, right? And then, I mean, yeah, hold on to Brock Purdy. It looks like he might be starting. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with that. It's obviously still a mystery. So, I mean, you can hold off and wait till the season and then see if you can make a move there. But at least get the two backups, so at least you're kind of safe, you know. All right, so other than the QBs, if I
I would
had
maybe
to, if I had to, let's just say Jimmy G would probably be one of the cheapest best options, and he's on a team where that's the guy's third QB. So I don't know how much necessarily.
what would you give up for Jimmy G in this particular league? Second,
Hold on. Where's the team with Jimmy G? Hold on.
Mac Jones,
Here we go. Jimmy G. He could technically kind of use some wide receivers. So
Wandell,
he's about what team was he? Ranked kind of seventh here. This guy's got some picks. Trying to think of, if we can send a wide receiver or something for Jimmy G. We throw a second for Jimmy G. That
I
second
would
is a good. That second is a good second.
so want what Wandell Robinson, maybe.
You give him Wandell Robinson and damn, he's got no thirds either. I feel like a second is too much with the player. I would feel it out and see what you can give him. If you have to give him a wide receiver and get, Garoppolo plus, I don't even care. Or do we go after?
Said Mac Jones. I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
but he's not, I don't think this guy will wind up wanting to give up Mac Jones.
That team has a ton of quarterbacks. That third team, golf balls.
Ryan Tannehill,
Baker,
maybe.
Tannehill, Baker. Nah, I would rather go for Tannehill.
Yeah, we
But
just talked about.
this guy may want to play Tannehill now over Kenny Pickett early on. Go to golf balls. He has a bunch of quarterbacks as well.
Can you give up Hop in the second to get Pickett? What do you think about that?
D-Hop in a second. If I'm going to give up D-Hop in a second for a guy that's not, I mean, obviously there's a third quarterback, so it's going to be valuable.
Solid, gives you value. Don't forget Hopkins is kind of in that range where
kind of falling off. What is D-Hop in the
where would
20th
D Hop
range?
be? He would kind of be in what
20ish? Just
maybe
have
wide
him. 20.
receiver. Let's just say 15 to 24. It could kind of be in this range, and he just kind of gives you that insurance. I mean, you still got Hollywood, so you have a third wide receiver to
True.
plug in. You got the running backs to plug into your flexes.
Which are the more valuable commodities in this league.
And you've got, St. Brown and Tyreek Hill to build around.
Do you hop in a
still able to
second
keep
for
your
Tannehill?
first.
Go for Pickett, you said?
I was saying to try and get Pickett because if he has Tannehill and you're giving him D Hop, that might be a little more, like, oh, okay, maybe I'll roll with Tannenhill. I mean, I don't know. It depends how they feel. I mean,
Mm,
like I said, you're not in a rush because we don't know. Like if Purdy's winds up being the starter, then you're good.
yeah,
So, I would say just pick up the backups, and then once the season comes, then kind of address the QB spot if you
agreed.
possibly can. But all right, forget about the QBs. At tight ends, we're obviously not doing anything. We got Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing anything at the running back or wide receiver position, or is there anything maybe that we can look at there that we might want to do?
Take the QBs off of this.
Take the QBs off.
And the tight ends, yeah, so I can see them.
Now you got running
Yeah,
back and wide receiver.
so it's a significant gap all the way down. I do like Hollywood as that wide receiver 3. I think that's a good situation. So I don't know if I'm going to mess with that, but then you would have to give up some of that running back depth because he has essentially 3 or 4 kind of good RBs. Obviously ETN is your top guy, and then you have Javante. We don't know. We wouldn't anticipate he gets a full kind of Javante workload coming off the massive injury. Connor, maybe he's going to break down at some point. He has Monty, I believe. So the collection of the running backs, I do like. I don't like any one of them outside of ETN, but the stable of them, I do like over the course of a season. And then what would you have to give up to bring in a running back? Maybe try and go get a Samaji Perine because you have Javante. I wouldn't mind that. I think he's going to have some really good value.
Maybe you go get some AJ Ryan, you're saying?
Yeah. Or if you want, you can unload Javante to the Perine owner if you want to go get a wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you got at least guys that are going to be,
Mm-hmm.
getting some work for a while. Like, ETN is decently youngish, Javante Montgomery. So you got at least like the 2-3 years, out of these guys. Connor's probably the last year you're getting. Singletary's a decent guy to have. We've got, I mean, I like this second. I mean, if that's 201, I mean, that team winds up really being the shittiest team like it's projected to be.
You could definitely do something with that 201 or projected
Give up.
201.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm okay with moving D Hop and moving the second for
Pick it.
something if that's possible. I mean, it's so hard to say because like even like home leagues, right? Every league is so different as far as like value wise. Like
Mm-hmm.
like in our league, I mentioned the trade before. Like I traded Judy for Addison in the first. Like in most leagues that's probably not possible. Like or people are like hell no, but it wound up working. So I don't know like how they value these guys. At the QB position, especially if it's like their third QB. I mean, some of these guys, these wide receivers, I mean, got some decent wide receivers here. This guy's got some running backs. So, maybe we can't get Pickett. Maybe we can't get Tannehill.
Jimmy G. That second for Jimmy G. Straight
You
up.
know,
Is that too much?
like the Jimmy G possibility, just as a third QB. But again, I'm not doing anything until I know the situation with Purdy. Really, you know.
But could that work to your disadvantage? Because if we know, say, Brock Purdy is going to be out or Trey Lance is going to be the starter, then Brock Purdy, the person, may feel like, hey, they have a little more leverage
Well, that's
potentially.
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying. That if Brock Purdy, if we get to the season and it's not Brock Purdy, then you can try and get a QB. I mean, you're not necessarily desperate, like you got Hurts and Pick
that's
and
true.
Prescott, but we want that insurance just to kind of just to kind of
Cover
ensure yourself
yourself.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
want
but
your third QB to be lowest common denominator. It doesn't need to be long term. Yeah, definitely. So I was looking at Tanny Boy. You need at least 2 seconds. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, but this second should be like a top three. Should be a top three. So hop in a second. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Like D Hop. That's what I'm saying. Like D Hop, he is expendable in the situation. He's an older guy, so even though we love his production, we love his name, we love what he could do. Like I'm okay. I'm okay coming off him here. You have the guys to do it. Catch, what up, bro? Thanks for tuning in, brother. Yeah, I mean, what wide receiver? I mean, again, they're the least, you know, the
least
least
valuable
meaning,
commodity. Yeah.
least valuable as far as your win, as far as your wins over replacement player here. So it is. That's why the guys that you have, like, it's an awesome squad that you have with ETN, Javante,
Mhm.
and Montgomery and Connor for this particular format. Like, it makes sense. I don't know if we can tier up, if we can use some of these guys to tier up on one of them. I mean,
I don't. I mean, you still have that second is very valuable because, like you said, it's going to be a top second. So if you package, I think if you wanted to, you could package Javante with that second and maybe get something. But I don't know if you're going to tier up enough. And who are you going after?
I don't know if I'd want to trade up, use Javante right now. You might have to wait till in the season, but I
He
think he
plays,
could be still
yeah.
a top 12 guy, which is still extremely valuable in this league. So I don't know necessarily if I want to get rid of him. ETN, I mean, some people are on the fence of, can we go out and get Tank Bigsby? Is that possible? Not a must. You are good at the running back position.
Yeah, overall, like I said, there isn't much to tinker with. Obviously, any team could be improved, but securing that quarterback position, I think we talked about, obviously is priority number one for this team. Because you have all the pieces in place, so you want to, like you said, the insurance is exactly what you need. You're driving a Ferrari. Get the full coverage.
Hmm. And how do people view kind of the running backs in your league as well? Like, can we maybe even like down tier and pick up assets like, with Monty or Connor? You know, can we go get my boy Gibby,
That's interesting.
right? Um, Trying to see if any other,
That's an interesting proposition.
right?
I wouldn't mind giving up
Can we
Monty
tear down from Monty to Gibby? And again, I don't know how people view these running backs, but especially with Gibbs going there, I don't know. A lot of people might not like Monty now, but it's definitely just something to feel out, right?
for sure.
Can we get Gibby in a pick or something like that from Monty? Connor's a tough one. I don't know. You got to feel how people feel about that too. I mean, this is possibly that kind of last productive year for him. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think like you said, I think you're perfectly fine, kind of staying put for now until we know more about the Purdy situation as we get closer,
Hmm.
and then kind of taking it from there. Okay with giving up, D Hop in the second to go get one of those QBs like we talked about.
Yeah,
do for the
Pickett.
insurance. And
I
if
would.
Brock Purdy works out, then you got another bargaining chip to go do something. So
Hell yeah. I do like going after Pickett first if you're gonna do that because he is the younger of the guys, and
uh,
Pittsburgh. I said I do like going after Kenny Pickett if you're gonna give up D Hop in the second, just target him, right? Even if the trade gets declined, or maybe he may make a counter. Because I think Kenny Pickett, is a safer option. Obviously, it's not going to be super long term, but you'll have that asset kind of there, as opposed to a Tannehill or Jimmy G. But
yeah, but he might cost a lot more, and that's the thing.
that's true.
Kind of only want him as your third QB right now, so we don't necessarily,
Want a
have to
mortgage
spend that much. So because he's not going to make, I don't. Again, that's not going to make a. Is that going to make a huge?
impact? Probably not.
Let's see. Is that going to make a huge difference from what Tannenhill to Pickett? I mean, these are guys that are probably in the
18ish range.
yeah. So I mean, they're not making
18 to 25.
enough, but not enough to pay that much for, especially if he's not going to be your
Yeah, I would
second
agree.
QB. So yeah, go give me Tanny and let me spend less, right? I mean, what do you guys think? Right? Would you rather spend less and get less and get Tanny? I mean, Pickett's nice. That would be nice, but
Not
I
necessary
think
to,
overall,
like
just
you
kind
said,
of
overspend.
yeah, I just kind of think now, like you said, you can send it for Pickett, just see what he says, see what happens there. I mean, whatever. But you never know.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
biggest key there is that, like you said, he's not desperate, which is good. You're not. It's not like you have Brock Purdy, and like if he only had Brock Purdy and then say maybe Tannehill as after Hurts, then you'd be a little more like, yeah, we need to improve that super flex position. But the fact that you have Hurts and Prescott is, you got to feel good about that. But get those handcuffs for those two guys, Cooper Rush and Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, just to have them. I mean, that's. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You got anything else?
I was looking at something. Give me 1 second in the news stream.
Yeah, Matt. Appreciate you for sending in the squad. Anyone else that wants their kind of team review, just email it dynastylife4ever@gmail.com. It should be in the description there. Send it over. We'll start doing these roster reviews again.
So
But yeah, what else?
two quick little notes that are starting to trickle in, and it seems like there's starting to be a little more momentum for these two guys. Brees looks like Brees Hall's going to play out of the gate for the Jets, which is another interesting development. And there's been some more kind of momentum towards him playing. And Javonte as well. He said he expects to be ready for the start of the season. Now, whether they put these guys on the PUP, who knows? But just some interesting little notes as we get very close to training camp.
I mean, we know Brees's was it was a clean tear, not as bad as Javonte's. So it's possible that he, is able to come back and be okay. But again, we'll probably see more, in the second half of the season. And then you've got Javonte, who had a bad one, kind of like we saw with J.K. Dobbins, and he's looking to come back already. Now, is he Adrian Peterson, just fucking bionic and able to come back so quick and be able
There's
to be
Adrian Peterson drop
and not have a you know and not struggle coming back? I mean, obviously, we know all the examples of when guys did struggle to come back, especially from this type, where the most recent was J.K. Dobbins, and we saw how he looked last year. So it's tough. Do we really believe in it? I mean, I don't. I feel a lot more comfortable for the next season, right? 2024. Do we see maybe in the second half Javonte come to life? I mean, it's just tough. I'm not banking on it for this year. Like I'd rather not bank on it. I'll bank on Breece Hall before I do Javante. But even
Agreed.
that still is still still risky.
Not a guarantee. Yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah, it's tough. And then what was the other one you brought up?
Just Brees and Javante.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it as far as what's going on in the.
When does training camp open up? Pretty soon, no?
Yeah, everything's coming up soon. I don't know the exact date. You'll have to look it up, but
It's got to be in the next week or so.
yeah,
I,
exciting to see
I
everything
saw
go.
I saw some meme on Instagram that said we're only 8 Sundays away from, and it had Scott Hansen with
Mm-hmm.
NFL Red Zone, and it's just like Christmas in September. So yeah, things are moving pretty quickly. Still interested to see where some of these free agent running backs are gonna go. Zeke, Dalvin, Lenny, Kareem Hunt. So those guys are still not signed yet, which is also something where I'm sure we're going to be on top of as we progress through the rest of the summer.
Well, two other ones just to touch on them was Tony Pollard. It looks like they're not going to get a deal done, so it looks like he's going to remain on the franchise tag. And then we've got
Jacobs on a potential. It's looking like that's a holdout situation waiting to happen.
Jacobs. We're seeing what's going to happen there, and then of course Saquon. Apparently, they're going to get a deal with Saquon done. We'll see. I don't
I
see
believe it's
how
going
they
to happen.
can't. Like, I don't
I
understand.
agree.
Like,
I
I
agree.
mean, come on. Saying they offered him what 14? I mean, fuck.
And he's holding out for
Should be good enough.
16.
I
That's
mean,
wild. That's wild.
can we come to a deal for 12 or 13 and you stay a Giant for the next 3-4 years? Like, I mean, if they're willing to do that, I mean, fuck. For a couple mil, I mean, make an incentive for the
Yeah.
other mills. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Like a
It's got to be
1,500 yard
something that
season. Yeah.
work out here.
An all pro season. Yeah.
But that would be, great for, Saquon, his dynasty value even, as an older running back. He now got getting the second contract. How long is it going to be? 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? I mean, I don't know. I don't think 4 years is on the table anymore at this point. It might be 3 years, might
3.
be 2 years.
Well, and these NFL contracts are so funky anyway. Usually, you'll see like a 4-year deal where the team has an out after 2 years, potentially that third year. So it's always funky with these NFL contracts. It's more once the guaranteed money is up, then that's when they can pretty much cut you and not give a
Well, I
shit.
mean, pretty much like, Gino and Derek Carr and,
1 year,
and
yeah.
those guys kind of those contracts. They're not necessarily safe. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up. That will wrap it up for tonight. We'll see y'all Thursday. What are we doing Thursday, Hammer? You got any ideas? We've been doing the verses for the last 2 weeks.
You got any more supernovas? I like the versus thing. That's pretty cool.
You try and finish that for Thursday, but you like what? The verses? I mean,
I like the
what
versus
would
thing.
another verse? Or maybe I'll put out a poll or something.
So we did a QB already. We did a wide receiver. We'll come up with a running back first. I like that.
All right. So running back's going to be. Give me some ideas.
You could do a. Trying to think some of the guys that might be comparable, but you're just like, maybe.
In that same range-ish.
Yeah. So maybe like a Najee versus. Who can I throw out there? Running backs are tough. I don't know. I would have to kind of think about it, look at the
Was
landscape.
Brees and JT? I know Brees and JT might be a right. Brees and JT might be a close one.
Can do that.
ETN and Kenny Walker maybe.
Mm-hmm. It's another interesting one.
I'll throw some polls out. We'll get some ideas going. But
I like it.
other than that, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all on Thursday. Just make sure you're following us on Instagram. I throw the links out on there.
Be there or be square.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Let's we getting up out of here though. Peace.